Okay, hello. I'm Shayna Keyles. I'm the Associate Director of Acquisitions with North Atlantic Books, and I'm here today with Rina Deshpande, the author of Yoga Nidra Lullaby.
Thank you so much for
And
having me, Shayna. I'm so happy to be here.
yeah, I'm really excited to talk to you about this book. Um, and it was so fun, working with you on this entire book project. And one of the things that was really exciting for me, I usually work on nonfiction books, right? But working on this children's book with you was so fun because I just got to see all of the iterations of illustrations that you worked on. Um,
Yeah, I laugh. Yeah.
I'd love to hear a little bit about the process that you used for the illustration, because if I remember correctly, you worked analog for a lot of it, right? Tell me a little bit about what it was like putting the pictures together for this book.
I love that word analog. Years ago, one of my colleagues, there was a song or a poem called Analog Girl, and she said, "This is you." And I thought, this is me. I really do love I like old school. I like my hands on things. And I think I always understood that the vision of how I wanted this to be illustrated was for people to be able to experience the actual strokes, to feel like they were actually touching the art, was very much important to me. And you're the first person that, you were my first touch point with North Atlantic Books. And so this is especially special because you really have seen it through all the way. But yeah, I would say for it to get to look like this, to get to this point, that's why I laughed because it was a journey. And
Yeah.
I basically, if you look at it, maybe you're able to see on this, but there you can see paint strokes, and it's a combination. It's what I guess I made up called hand painted collage. And so
Can
basically
you
I
show us one of the inside pages
oh yeah,
too? Because you can see a lot of texture on the front cover, but I
absolutely.
love all the different textures you use inside as
Yeah.
well.
So even here, I painted these pages as well. But you can see everything. It's basically painted paper that I then cut out and then collage. And sometimes the painted background of the paper is actually really wild. And so I cut out based in areas that I find interesting in the paint that I just kind of wildly paint. And sometimes I make it pretty uniform. Like I know I want gradation of color, and so there will be all kinds of different colors. And so that was pretty much my process of self-discovery and book discovery as I went through it. Yeah.
Yeah, I remember early on, like you'd show me drafts of the illustrations, and it would just kind of be you at the kitchen table with all of these different painted sheets with different textures and different colors. Like, okay, I'm going to cut this one out, or am I going to cut this one out? And it was really, yeah, the creativity that went into this book, not just the writing, but the illustrations is one of my favorite parts.
Oh, me too. I have photographs of it, and I would love to show what you
I would love to see
what
that.
you're
Yeah.
referring to.
Oh my goodness, the
Um,
storyboard of this.
oh
Yes.
my gosh. So yeah, here you can see, and you can see it now, right, Shayna? Yeah.
Amazing.
So this is
Yeah,
what it ended up
wow.
looking, right? And so this is what looking like, and it's my kitchen table, our family kitchen table. It was during the pandemic, right? This is the place that
Yeah.
I situated myself, and so this was farther along into the process where this was far more organized, but I just also thought it was kind of funny to be able to share. This is what it also looks like.
Oh my
This
God.
is
I
also an
love it.
organized version, but like the amount of little pieces of paper. And I do like to be relatively organic, so it also made me happy that like I was cutting out paper and really it's like Elmer's glue, really. So it's really nice that this is all, non-toxic
Yeah.
artwork as well, which I think is also the spirit of yoga. And even just that relationship with touching it. But yeah, this is pretty much what it looked like. And this is when, you're storyboarding it out. And I wanted to see what the spreads were looking like. I could even revise in the moment because I was just thinking this doesn't look right to me just by looking at it in that way. So yeah, those are some
Yeah.
pictures.
So we talked a little bit about like the artistic process, right? I'd love to hear a bit more about um, the writing process, the inspiration behind the story itself. And I really love how this connects back to your own life growing up, to your family story. So what inspired this book?
Well, my culture, the practice, and my mom. It's dedicated to my mom for that reason here. Dedicated, so for my mother. And on the back of it, if you have a copy or purchase a copy, there's a note about it, and I share a little bit about it in there as well. But pretty much I grew up. I'm an Indian American. My family is from India, and yoga is part of our way of life, our cultural practice, just how we do anything. There's a lot of gratitude, frankly, that happens. And we also had yoga as integrated, and in that way, my mom used to, we used to have a lullaby when I was little that she made up. And I'm not sure that she was like, this is now my yoga Nidra lullaby for my daughter, but because of the indirect influence of just being part of a culture, she created this lovely lullaby that allowed me to go to sleep. And it was just naming the parts of my body head to toe in a very sing-songy way, rhythmic. And I would call myself, I was a pretty anxious little kid. I was quiet, but I think I was a pretty anxious little kid. And it would really just help me to progressively relax my body over time. And so I've never forgotten that. I didn't necessarily go into the book thinking like, this is the only inspiration why, but I was realizing as I was making it, like, wow, again, I was immersed in this experience with my mother. And I had also been teaching yoga and yoga nidra, and even researching yoga and yoga nidra. And so when it all came together, it just made me realize and reconnect with that experience with my mother. So
Yeah, and I think that's something so many people can relate to, right? Like my dad, it wasn't yoga nidra for us, but he would always I went to bed, just like, talk about my head getting heavy, my eyelids getting heavy, my limbs getting heavy. And you've taught children, you've been a teacher for a long time as well. So how did that play into, wanting to do a children's book and like bring in what you learned from your family?
that's a great question. I've been a teacher and an educator of teachers for almost 2 decades. And still going. And I knew ever since I was little, I would go sit in the children's section of the library before and after school sometimes, like, and just leaf through these books. And I found myself doing that even as a school teacher. Read alouds was one of my favorite things. And I would go to the New York Public Library children's section, and I would just consistently be looking at books, touching books, wanting to buy books, requesting donors choose books. So I just always knew. I don't know a lot about myself, honestly. I always find I'm ever discovering, but there is this one thing that I feel like has been this thread throughout my existence that I just knew I wanted to make a children's picture book, and even just books in general. So this isn't the only kind, but definitely new. So yeah, and then since I've been teaching kids, I'm always interacting and teaching adults, but I always interact with kids, and I think children are incredible. They're insightful. So it really informed that. And so even just educationally, the way I've set it up, there's reflective questions on each page because I'm a teacher at heart, and I want to help people engage, help children engage with the book and not just become passive observers of it.
One thing that I've really appreciated since this book came out is occasionally I follow a lot of the authors I work with on Instagram. So I've seen people responding to your post about the book and talking about, their classroom reading or one of their kids reading. How has that experience been for you? What are some of the comments you've gotten from people? Just it must feel pretty incredible to have some of these reactions just coming straight onto your page.
It's amazing, Shayna. It's like I love to talk, and I love when I'm speechless because it truly, I started to get personal photographs like from my friends and family members, and then even their friends of friends. And um, so I have actually this whole archive on my phone of kids and their pets reading books, my friends reading books, whether or not you have children, like people who have bought and have been using this book. I mean, I say the word like, it's about reading, and I very much care about reading it, but it feels like there's utility in it too, and I'm so happy about it. So I'm just so happy when I see it. And even some of my friends, my college roommates, one of them were sending her daughter reading the book aloud, like as if she's a teacher, like it's incredible to see. So my heart is consistently warm. And I'm now going into schools when I have the opportunity to be able to talk to groups. Like soon again, I'll be talking to, almost 200 kindergartners about the book. And there's so many aspects that we can talk about. And whether it's the art, whether it's doing a moving breathing practice together, it's really great.
Wow. Yeah, that's just such an exciting opportunity to be able to participate with the readers in that way. What is one thing that you didn't expect about the process of writing the book or releasing the book? Just anything about the journey that has been a surprise for you, or that's been really exciting for you?
I didn't expect it to be a process of self-discovery.
Mm.
I feel like, oh, you see a book, you see it on the shelf, and you've like, that person knew what they wanted it to be and they put it together. And yes, there's going to be revision, but like it transformed so much. And alongside the way that this evolved, and you saw, the photographs of like the cutout pieces and the colors and the shapes and the not liking it and then liking it and yes and no, it feels like me, and so having it put together, I feel like um I wouldn't necessarily call it a benchmark because that sounds like I'm rating it, but I feel like I've now reached another critical point of identity. um, because I've had to do a lot of messy work. This took a lot of messy work, some of it very clear, a lot of it really messy. And similarly, that's what I was doing along with it. And so now I'm interested to see for this next phase, for our next book, for whatever it is, as I'm doing this, it's more self-discovery again. So you kind of get there and reach a point and then it's transformation. So really it's yoga, right? It's yoga itself because it wasn't necessarily a seamless experience, but I loved it. I wouldn't trade it for the world. And honestly, so much of it is working with you, with your team, such wonderful people, your art direction team, publicity, everybody. Like I've had so much wonderful support through North Atlantic Books. It's just been a great journey.
Yeah, I was just thinking of saying like it really has been a journey, right? I think we first got in touch 2019 maybe or early 2020, and just to see where the book is now and all of the different stages it went through. Um, yeah, from just an idea to you going into a school with 200 kindergartners is just a beautiful thing. So Rina, thank you so much for chatting with me about this today. Congratulations again on this really beautiful book.
Thank you
Uh,
so much, Shayna. I so appreciate the opportunity for it, and it's always great chatting with you. I could do it for hours.
Same here. All right, well, take care.
Thank you, you too.